Hello, I am Clara Casado Coterillo from the Universidad de Cantabria, and together with my co-worker Marta Rumayor and our collaborator Stephanie Weinstein from the Montana State University in the US, I am going to share this presentation dealing with several active learning by doing strategies we have been implementing in food technology in chemical engineering. I have divided this presentation into 5 parts according to the suggestions of the conference, where we are going to justify the methods presented here by clarifying the challenges we were facing, the objectives, and the preliminary results and conclusions. These strategies have been implemented in the food technology subject, which is a 4th year optative one of the chemical engineering curriculum at the University of Cantabria, with a partial collaboration with the Mass Transfer Unit Operations Separations, which belonging to the 3rd year of the chemical engineering degree of the Montana State University. The main objectives are providing the students with the opportunity to apply concepts of chemical engineering and tools that they have been studying or seeing throughout the degree into food technology issues, improving their communication skills, and also the motivation and commitment with the subject contents and their own learning throughout the whole semester. This started because the previous organization of the subject was found to be more lecturer-oriented than student-focused, with the contents distributed to fit the professor schedule rather than the students' learning as a whole. This subject contains 3 theoretical lessons where the students receive information on the general concepts relevant in food industry and food technology. Also, several practical sessions where the students solve chemical engineering problems solved with examples of food products or food-oriented materials, and finally, at the end, a case study where the students develop in groups of 2 or 3 all the general aspects viewed in theory and class, but for a specific food group technology that they had to develop in a written essay and in a final presentation to the rest of the class. Formally, this meant that the students only started working on the case study when the semester was well advanced. Many of them didn't see the relevance of coming to class or benefiting from tutorship or interacting with each other. So, the teaching strategies that are available to provide an integral approach, in our view, are flipped classroom, which allows optimizing the time in classroom and the awareness of the student with their own learning by close connecting the parts of the curriculum and active involvement of the students by asking them small individual tasks and teamwork that doesn't cost a huge effort because it's well spread during the whole semester, together with competitive group dynamics that incentivize their spirit to improve each other by learning from the rest of the class in a playful atmosphere, and virtual exchange, which has come of age during the pandemics and allows the students to interact with their peers from different environments, regardless their chances, be them economic or personal disposition to apply for study programs elsewhere, be them Erasmus or otherwise. So in this experience, we used a combination of a presential flipped classroom, learning by doing, and virtual international exchange in the optative subject of food technology of the 4th year of the chemical engineering degree at the University of Cantabria, and monitoring the motivation and acquired commitment of the students with the subject during the whole semester. This academic year, we had 13 Spanish students and with the collaboration of 31 American students. Thus, we had to reorganize all the structure of the subject by providing the theoretical aspects as a whole in class during the whole semester and asking the students to complete the materials provided in the Moodle platform by small tasks from the beginning of the semester to understand the general concepts while applying at the same time each of them on their different team case studies from the day zero of the semester. And then the practical sessions were started a little bit later, so they could start with the case study earlier. And each of these problems was oriented to one of the such food group technologies, and although they had to solve them individually, the group presentations presenting the solution to the rest of the class was assigned to each of the group, to one of the groups. The practical session in classroom dealt with the application of chemical engineering tools related with processes and products in different challenges present in the food industry, such as movement of fluids of different textures, pumping of them, conservation by freezing and sterilization, thermal processing, heat and mass transfer solving equations, solid liquid extraction, and so on. The case studies that consisted on the former theme 4 on food group technologies that the students worked in groups were each devoted to a specific food group technology. The students could relate the general concepts of the theoretical sessions and the practical classes with the food group in question. The students divided themselves in groups in 2 or 3 people according to their affinities, and then the case studies were assigned for each group, extracting the number of a case study from a backline leaf. Midterm evaluation of the case studies and the general involvement of the students was performed by a poster competition just before Easter holidays, for which a digital rubric was designed so that the students could evaluate their peers after a 2 or 3 minute presentation of all the posters displayed at the hall of the engineering school. The final presentation of the projects were scheduled for the last week of the semester, and the students were given an adapted similar form to evaluate their peers again. An anti-rubric for the lecturers to classify the ranking of the presented projects were also designed in case it was necessary to untie them. Between both group dynamics, an international class was organized via teams with the students from the Montana State University, where the fundamentals of a technology widely used in the food industry as evaporation was reminded to the students of both universities, as well as applications in real case studies in a food company in Spain. Then problems handouts were displayed for the students, and they were divided in separate rooms, small rooms in teams, where they were mingled between both universities to solve the problems together. After 15 minutes or so, they were returned to the general class for discussion and doubts on the solution before passing to the next problem of increasing difficulty. The team's chat was left open over the weekends for the students to keep interacting with the solution of the final most difficult problems if needed. A survey for the students' evaluation of the activity was submitted to them through the team's chat before the end of the session. Regarding results, as to the peer review evaluation of the poster competition and prize winning, it's necessary to say the rubric was designed so that the students evaluated their classmates according to 4 aspects dealing with the design of the poster or the final presentation, the content, the presentation itself, and the quality of the answers given during the discussion from values given values from 1 to 3. And it was observed that the student peer review during the poster was quite objective, so the anti-rubric designed for the lecturers classification was not necessary at all. During the practical sessions in the classrooms, the students learned how to prepare a poster, and they fed their posters with their first results on task activities claimed after the theory sessions, dealing with the market sector, nutritional and chemical composition of each of the food groups, most relevant processing. And during the poster session held in the hall of the school, they introduced their work to the rest of the class and were asked questions so that they could be evaluated by their peers. They conquered their shyness and they felt confidence with their own work. And the final presentation was an oral communication of 15 minutes evaluated in the class, and no written essay was asked of them. But the students expressed themselves clearly and thoughtfully, demonstrating the work that they had performed during the whole semester in a very mature way. Here are some pictures of the poster competition held midterm. Regarding the virtual exchange, the previous year we had performed this international class, and the students had expressed the short time to break the ice before the international on-streaming session. So we had provided this website, padlet.com, where they could introduce themselves by answering 3 out of several example questions proposed to them by their lecturers at the beginning of the semester, following the lead of the lecturers, but as here the example, but only a few of them interacted with each other before the international class, so the time to interact during the streaming session was still a little bit short. We have to improve this in the future. Because we started the session with a pre-fundamental reminder of operators technology for the Spanish students who had already seen this in previous years, and since the third year, American students had been studying that during that week and the previous one, and then we connected the Spanish classroom to Teams. The Americans were connected at home. It was about 9 a.m. in the morning in their site, and we, the lecturers, introduced each other, emphasizing the relevance of networking on the career development relationships to encourage the students to do the same. Then a real case of the study of the food evaporation technology in a milk factory with an example in the region of Cantabria in Spain was exposed to all the class, and the problems started where the students were divided in team rooms. The results were variable because the American students had worked on the handout problems beforehand, and the Spanish students had not. And the Americans did not bother to discuss with the Spanish on the chat, and the Spanish could not well use the microphones due to avoid the coupling with their classmates and the classroom general microphones. This is an issue we have to improve in following years. But the evaluation has been turning to continuous evaluation along the last couple of years, removing the weight of the final theoretical exam and emphasizing the interaction between the teamwork activities, individual problem solving, and the small tasks dealing with the activities proposed in class during the whole semester to complete the theoretical concepts that the students use in their collective case studies. And this evaluation has been highly appreciated by several of the students, that they have realized that they have learned without much effort and they prefer that to studying for a final exam at the end of the semester. The results obtained with the new integral methodology are welcomed by the students and lecturers, and we will have to wait for the future years to see the real outcome regarding academic and communication yields. These main objectives regarding attendance and commitment, with a full % attendance to class during the whole semester, are fulfilled this academic year, and improvements on the integration of the virtual exchange have to be implemented in the future. Thank you very much for your patience.